To module number 3, implement, sustain, and measure. This is the module, or rather, this is a syllabus area that would cover chapters 5, appendices A and F of the official manual. We'll start with the concept of 3 approaches to implementing portfolio management. There are broadly 3 approaches. We could use a Big Bang approach, we could use an evolutionary approach, and an ad hoc approach. In the Big Bang approach, implementing portfolio management is viewed as a business change program in its own right, and it's planned with a business case. Why do we need these set of practices in the portfolio management context? Spelling vision. What is the vision of this portfolio management discipline that we are planning to implement? What would the future state look like in terms of the various portfolio management practices? What does the current state look like? Where does the future state look like? And a recommendation is to kind of use managing successful program as a methodology, as a means of implementing portfolio management, because MSP is a framework that includes a whole range of ideas on change management. Now, when we do implement any initiative in a Big Bang manner, it's important that we look into aspects of people embracing that particular change or new ways of working, and MSP is a recommended approach towards any Big Bang implementations within the organization. It's good to kind of make this a time-bound approach in terms of a defined start date and a defined end date, which kind of encompasses both the 5 practices within the definition cycle and the 7 practices within the delivery cycle. Now, the evolutionary approach is more an incremental approach, and you might want to start with areas of greatest need. Let's say, for example, there's a need to prioritize investments within the organization. We might want to start off with the prioritize practice within the definition cycle, and those where rapid progress can be made, and the organization's approach to portfolio management then evolves to reflect its need, opportunities, and lessons learned. So we pick up those practices which are of greater need within the organization, we implement them, and then we get those quick wins, and then we move on to other practices and the implementation of those practices. That's the evolutionary approach. And then you have the ad hoc approach. As with the evolutionary approach, there is no detailed master plan, but there is no expectation that the approach will develop, and no commitment to capturing lessons learned to inform development. Implementation is more opportunistic as a part of the ad hoc thinking. But the question that we might want to ask is, well, when would each of these approaches be relevant? So the next slide kind of talks towards that particular thinking. When would each approach be most relevant? There is no one right way to implement portfolio management. It all depends on the circumstances. Now, Big Bang approaches are most appropriate where top-down approaches to strategy are formulated well, where the environment is relatively stable, where PPM is already relatively mature. In other words, the project and program management practices are mature, strategy is well-developed, environment is relatively stable. In situations like that, you could use a Big Bang approach. Now, staged incremental or evolutionary approaches are relevant in situations where environments are less stable and strategy is itself emerging. And ad hoc approaches are applicable where existing practices are less mature and where senior commitment to organization-wide end-to-end portfolio management is less well embedded. Now, what are the steps that we would need to take into consideration when we implement portfolio management? So MoP kind of gives us 7 first steps along with their benefits for a staged implementation of portfolio management. Step number 1, obtain a single complete view of the organization's portfolio of change initiatives, its costs, benefits, schedule, risk, and performance to date. So this one singular view of all the change initiatives would provide savings from removing duplicate, non-strategically aligned, and poorly performing initiatives, and in so doing, improve deliverability. Number two, it helps in creating a complete portfolio delivery plan and monitor progress against it on a regular basis. That's the second step towards implementing portfolio management. The benefit is you could implement regular progress reporting and highlight gaps and stimulate questions and debate. That's the benefit. Step number 3 towards implementation, start tracking completed program and project performance compared to forecast and use this in initiative forecasting. Benefits, improved business case forecasting, and so improved investment appraisal and portfolio prioritization. The act of implementing rigorous evaluation will send clear messages that portfolio management means a more disciplined, end-to-end and evidence-based approach to managing change. And it will also help ensure more robust and reliable business cases. Step number 4 in the 7-step process for implementation, review the current portfolio and identify dependencies, not only those where one initiative is dependent on the output of another, but also where several initiatives make calls upon a limited resource. Now, in the context of MoP, they kind of talk about a dependency called logical dependency, where one project is dependent upon the output of another project. The other type of dependency is a logistical dependency. You have a set of you have a set of constrained resources, but then how do you make a call in allocating those resources to the set of initiatives within the portfolio? So point number 4 is basically talking about that logistical dependency. What is the benefit of adopting step number 4? It results in improved understanding across the portfolio and so easier resolution of potential problems. Step number 5, establish clear governance structures so that stakeholders understand where decisions are made and using what criteria. The benefits with this particular step is this helps ensure decision makers get the information they require to manage the portfolio. Step number 6, define a standard set of investment criteria, including attractiveness/return and achievability/risk in terms of the incremental impact on the existing portfolio to be used to appraise and prioritize initiatives. Now, this step would help ensure that limited resources are allocated with maximum impact. Finally, apply staged release of funding linked to stage phase gates. The benefit is investments of resources is linked to confidence in successful delivery. Rigorous start gates ensure that programs and projects are initiated in a controlled manner. So please keep the 7 steps in perspective. They would perhaps test you on your understanding and the application of these 7 steps.